Well, it's that time again. Another episode of At Joel Cupcake Unedited. That's your boy, me, Joel Cupcake, and I'm unedited, like it says up there in the corner of the screen. Anyways, got the headset on. You know what that means. Time for a guest. This one will be sweet. This one might be too sweet. Not 100% sure. But before I get to that, a couple cool things. Just figured I'd share with you guys. If you didn't see my Facebook post, Rosario Dawson is the first person to be, added to season 2 of The Mandalorian. The second person is, I'm not even going to try to say his name because I'll slaughter it, but the original actor that played Boba Fett, and Jango Fett, you know what I mean, in the prequel Star Wars movies, is going to be in season 2, hopefully as Boba Fett. For sure, as Boba Fett, Disney said, and also hopefully as Captain Rex. So let's do that. Drain put out California Cursed. Check out that record. If you're a local person, You Lose put out new music, and Goldview put out a new song, and I forget the third band, but you can see all that on my Twitter feed. I share all that nonsense. So, anyways, on to today's episode. We are, I believe, this is episode 15. I hope I'm correct in that number. Who knows? Who cares? I'm your boy, at Joel Cupcake, and today's episode is with a good friend of mine, William Quintana. Willy Q, how we doing, my man?
Good. Just got off work and ready to talk to you for hours on end.
Oh no, not hours, not hours. Hopefully it won't be an hour. I end up talking too much, and I have guests that I enjoy way too much, and just kind of ends up going like that. So, Willy Q, you are here today, my man. Everybody, I know Willy Q. We're in the infamous EJ Shannon group chat together. Willy Q used to be in a sick metalcore band. It was pronounced Ashylus, right?
Yep, Ashylus.
Yes, Ashylus. Some of you may have seen them, some of you may have not. Willy Q played bass for a band that never did anything called Zero that was heavy and sick as fuck. And he made some appearances on Warped Tour, and like some of you know him from throughout the music industry. He also was a long time concert promoter in the Pacific Northwest, almost as long as me, but he no longer does that. Now Willy is a wrestling promoter. So Willy, tell us about your company. Let's start with that.
Prestige Wrestling was started in like 2017, and we were running primarily in Hermiston. And I mean, kind of the goal, it's the same goal that you had with your concerts, I feel, just to not just run one market, to take over every market in your region was kind of the goal, because nobody was doing that.
Yeah. Takeover is the wrong word, but yes, I know what you mean. That makes me sound all diabolical and shit.
On my end, it's a little more diabolical because I think a lot of people were doing really bad wrestling, and I was just sick of seeing really bad wrestling. I mean, it's the equivalent of like, you
want to go in and help a scene.
Yeah. You want to do it the best and absolute best, and if somebody's not doing it up to par, they need to leave. Like, they're not helping the scene; they're just wasting people's time.
You're 100% right, my friend. I agree completely. Well, that's cool. So, so this episode, I want to cover a little bit about you, and then we'll go into the rest of the stuff I want to talk about. So, I already said what bands you're in and some of that. Like, just hit us with a couple minutes. Give me the backstory. Give me Willy Q, getting into music, getting into wrestling, and then switching, doing the music industry thing, realizing it fucking sucks, and then doing wrestling. Hit me with it.
Here's the deepest cut and the biggest reveal of this ever. I shaved my head for the first time in my life recently. I've never had a shaved head before. You're the only person that's seen it outside of people I know. Anyways,
you saw it here first, everybody.
Right? Yeah. So there's the deepest cut of this whole podcast interview thing.
All right.
I don't know. I started booking concerts when I was 12, maybe 13, and it was just because there was no good music within. I mean, there was music like 45 minutes away, but nothing like a 13-year-old could accessibly get to. 45 minutes is far when you're 13. So correct. I just booked bullshit shows for a while. Daniel DeFonts yelled at me a bunch. You know how it goes. And then I finally, you know how long it can take to make money. I I didn't start making real money until I started doing those hip hop shows a few years ago. But by that
Oh,
point,
okay.
I was burnt out on music, so I decided to stop and go do
Yeah.
wrestling.
Word,
Um,
word. And when did you start watching wrestling? When did your love of that grow? And how did you realize, like, I want to be a fucking wrestling promoter?
I started watching wrestling, I'd say, in 1998. So I would have
Ooh,
been like, I would have been like 5 or 6, I think.
the good years.
The good years, yeah. And then I wanted to be a wrestler when I was little, but when you grow up and you end up being just like a fat dude that's out of shape, you're like, well, maybe I'll just be a
Preach,
promoter.
preach,
Yeah.
preach, preach.
So I mean, that's the route you have to go. You know, I can't be in
Yeah,
bands or anything now. I'm too out of shape. Like, so
yeah,
I'll just promote things.
yeah. I mean, I'm just. I like to say that I'm musically challenged. Like, I can tell if a band's good, but like,
Yeah.
I tried to take classes in high school. I couldn't figure out how to read music. I could like. It was hard for me to play and keep rhythm. Like, I can't multitask very well. You know what I mean? Like, I can, but like not like I don't know. I have good hand-eye coordination because of like video games and stuff, but just like some of it, I don't know. Like when I was young, I just couldn't grasp how to learn music.
Isn't it insane how many people in the music industry don't play any instruments?
Yes,
Like all
it
the
really
time.
is.
It's like,
And
what?
it's like and then like when Dan starts talking about how he used to be in a band and he plays guitar, I'm almost like I like almost forget. Like I'm almost surprised. I'm like, no, dude, you're an agent. Shut up, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but yeah.
It,
Well,
it, it it's because people like him and I, like, I'm not exceptionally talented at guitar or anything. I can play guitar well. Like I can play any song I want to learn. Usually I can't
yeah,
like sweep. I assume Dan's probably the same way. It's like we are much more talented at something else. So it's like, why not thrive at that as opposed to, just try to make it in a band. Like we can have
yeah.
band as our fun thing and then whatever as our job.
Ooh, I like that. That's a fair point. That is a fair point. Well, that's awesome, man. So like Prestige has done some big things like over the last couple of years. I've been watching like I would say, in my opinion, you don't have to respond. That you're probably the second biggest wrestling promotion in the Northwest. Um, is that fair?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't
I mean,
know.
I'm an outsider. You know what I mean. So like,
Yeah,
to me, as far as like who I see getting the rising stars or the old stars of yesterday, and like promoting well and staying in business, I see you guys and I see Defy.
I
You
know
know what I
probably the
mean?
most talked about are us and Defy for sure.
Yeah.
But Defy, one of their owners, Matt Farmer, I'm friends with him. He's been in the wrestling business for like 20 years,
Oh
So
damn.
it's probably more than that. I don't know a lot about him, but I know he has a lot of ins, and he's very good at what he does. He's been doing it a lot longer than me. It'd be the equivalent of someone trying to get into booking. And they're doing well, but you're always going to have that leg up because you've been doing it forever. Like
Okay.
everybody,
Yeah.
and you know how to do it well, like without question.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, but I mean, yeah, us and Defy, I'd say there's a few other good ones, but
Yeah. Yeah, and like, dude, you guys have had like WWE stars, well, past WWE stars. You've had a few stars before they signed to like NXT and AEW. You've had some talent from like Ring of Honor. I think you've had a few Lucha Libre stars as well, right? Like,
I give someone their first match ever, and he's in New Japan now.
oh, see, exactly.
So
Like,
so like that's one of the cool things. Like, and that's one of my biggest regrets too. Like someone like him, I was so young in the business, I didn't know how to utilize someone like him.
yeah,
But it's like it would have been hard for a lot of people to utilize that because he was so young that he got signed a year into his entire wrestling career. Like a year and
oh
a half
wow,
after training, he was signed by New Japan. So
that's so sick, though. That's so
yeah.
rad. That's so rad. And then like, yeah, I know like we're mutual friends with my boy Zicky Dice.
Mhm.
Who's now killing it over as the NWA television champ. And, we have a few other mutual friends from that sector of the world. But I brought you on today, like all my guests have been musical in nature or come from that world or whatever. And, like you switch from being a concert promoter to a wrestling promoter and also doing like the band thing and being in the biz, like I was wondering if maybe you could hit us with like I'm sure there's some like correlations and obviously some big differences, but like what are like some similarities and like how did your knowledge of being a concert promoter like help you in the wrestling biz?
Dude, it was just as simple as like people in the wrestling business, I don't think we're utilizing like Facebook ads enough.
Yeah.
Like even wrestlers don't utilize ads enough. I don't know why wrestlers aren't setting up their own athlete pages and then running sponsors ads. Like let's say you're a wrestler that does crazy dives or something, or you do crazy hardcore spots. If you ran just a simple clip of you doing your insane dive and threw $100 advertising budget behind it, even the most casual people are gonna be like, did that dude just do a backflip off a balcony and watch it, and it's gonna get you publicity.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's one of the ways that I transferred over and applied it. I was like, I would go to wrestling shows and local wrestling companies wouldn't have merchandise. And I'm like, why don't you have merchandise? And they wouldn't have like good logos and they wouldn't have banners everywhere and branding.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? So that's what I applied. That's one of the things that like I really started to clue in on when I was in Zero. Zero, even though we were the band that did nothing, was the only band that I ever made like money on. Like right off the bat, it was like I knew locally I could probably ask for $200 for just a brand new band, you know, because people were hyped on us. But our merch store was just merch was flying. So yeah, it was just like just the promotional side of it is all literally exactly the same.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, you still do a little bit more like physical, like flyering with the wrestling stuff, right? Like, do you even do, or is all your ads and everything you do like online? Is that all digital?
When we're really busy, I can't physically flyer just because
Yeah,
there's too much going on. Like last year we had 3 shows in May, which for wrestling is a lot for
that is a lot. Yeah,
so those I couldn't because it would have been like flyer Portland, then flyer Hermiston, then flyer Spokane. And those are all just spread way apart.
mm-hmm.
But when there's locally or there's time, I like to physically flyer because it's one of those things that like there's so many people that haven't watched wrestling in years, but if I have wrestling and they're in their local town, they might be like, "Oh, I'll go watch wrestling tonight." It's
Yeah,
like
well,
20
and
bucks.
you guys don't do like an insane ticket price, even though I love your business model. Like you said, you have a great logo, you have merch, you have the branding on point, you're presented well, you're pretty easy to find on social media, but you have pretty big stars, and you keep like a very mild ticket price. You know what I mean? Like in comparison to like other stuff. You know what I mean?
Compared to everyone regionally, though, like us and Defy are far more expensive than everyone else. A lot of
Yeah,
people are doing $10 and
but everybody
$20
else is
wrestling.
still in like bingo halls and stuff, and you have like real productions. You have curtains, you do the banners, you do the ads, you're flying international talent in. You know what I mean? Like you're not to if anybody from any of those companies watches this, I'm not trying to throw any shade, of course.
Yeah, it's just
But
different.
like,
It's a different world. It's the difference between somebody that's promoting their bands that are their friends and somebody that wants to make it a job and a career.
there you go, exactly. Yeah, and so that's awesome. I mean, like, what are some things that are different from being a promoter, like being in the music biz to the wrestling biz? Like, I
Dude,
know.
wrestlers think travel is so fucking grueling and they do not even understand, man. They will tell me, they'll be like, dude, I just had to drive 2.5 hours. And I'm just like, I did a tour where we played 45 shows in a row without a day off, and I drove 7.5 hours every single night. Like,
If not more.
yeah, and anybody that's been in the music industry and the wrestling business knows for travel and stuff like that, the music business is far more grueling, and it's more grueling in a lot of different
Yeah.
ways. In the sense that you're playing every single night. When you're wrestling, sure, you're taking a lot of bumps, but like you're in shape and you're accustomed to that. A dude like me and you, we can't travel for 45 days straight and
No,
sleep in
that's
bands.
not fun.
We would feel miserable. Yeah, so
Well, I
that's
mean, I
one of
was
the
able to
things.
do it, but I was,
Yeah, it sucked. Like
alcohol,
sometimes it sucked.
alcohol helped a lot.
Yeah, being straight edge, I just had to freaking
Yeah,
just cry.
you were just fucking miserable. Yeah.
So yeah, guys like Zicky Dice, him and I have talked about that, and then like Kenny Lush was in the band Daggermouth. He was our first champ.
Oh, cool.
Him
Oh,
and
I didn't
I have,
realize that that's the same person. That's tight.
yeah, he was in Dag, and that's like crazy to me to think about too. That's why I made him our first champ, just because I knew like he came from hardcore. So I was like, this dude's probably not going to screw me over, you know. It's like he
Yeah.
hopefully has that hardcore and punk ethics.
Yeah.
And that was cool to like do. Daggermouth, they had to have influenced or helped bands like, Set Your Goals and like A Day to Remember and stuff, because Daggermouth was doing it in 2003. They like pretty much invented easy core.
Oh, yeah. I'll always love and respect that band. Like, Daggermouth, man. That's a band I'll fucking miss, dude. Like, they come back every couple of years, play a couple West Coast shows, and it's just like so rad.
Kenny texted me today actually because I had announced the canceling of all of our shows in 2020, and he had announced that, or he had said like Daggermouth only runs periodically and does shows periodically, but like taking that break is what keeps him wanting to do it. Because if you just keep hitting the pavement, like when you're our age, you get burnt out.
Oh yeah.
So he's like, dude, he told me, he's like, you're gonna come back way more inspired, and I was like, yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Like, taking this 8 months off, I'm gonna be ready to kill it when I come back.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So let's talk about that. So like, you had to take, you actually announced it today, the day we're filming this episode, that you were canceling everything for the rest of the year, even if the shelter in place gets lifted, and you, in theory, could be running events. You're taking the precautionary, safe step to just cancel, right? Straight up.
Yeah, cancel and then just promise people we'll be back whenever we can. WrestleMania weekend, we were the first company to cancel as well. And that was put on like wrestling news sites. Like everybody was like, well, maybe we'll try. And I was like, dude, it's not happening. Like we were the first company WrestleMania weekend to cancel our show.
Yeah.
And then we're the first company over here to be like, dude, we're not running at all until 2021. Like, because even we're businessmen, we get it. Even if we're allowed to come back, people are going to be so weary to spend their money. Like, it's going to take a while.
And then it's like, I mean, I've talked to plenty of agents that I disagree with that are, some agree and some disagree, but like things are not going to go back to normal. And like, just because people can go out in groups doesn't mean they're going to. Like, not everyone's going to want to. Like, I posted a poll a couple of weeks ago on Facebook that was like, how does everybody feel about what's going on? And people were like, yeah, I miss concerts, but like I live with my mom, or, I see my grandma 3 times a week and she's at a health risk. So like, I wouldn't be going even if I could, because on the rare chance I get it and I give it to her and she dies, like I'm going to feel fucking like a terrible human being.
Dude, and because of how much stuff's changing, I think people are going to be fearful that it's just going to get canceled and postponed again. Like, even if they're like, yeah, we can go back to normal, and then the show's 2 months from now, they're fearful a month from now, more outbreaks are going to happen and everything's going to get canceled.
Yeah.
So it's going to take a bit.
Well, and then plus, like, you fly wrestlers in from all over the world and the other states, and they all have different travel bans. They all have different restrictions. They all, you don't know. You have no health control over any of these situations. You know what I mean? So like, shit's just wild, man. Well, like, so you didn't think the other promoters were doing well in the area, or could have been more accessible or whatever, and you guys started Prestige. So like, where did you come up with the name from that? I know you got a couple business partners, you don't need to talk about them, but just like, how does one go about doing that? Like, it's not like being a concert promoter, oh, you go buy a PA, spend $800 and you can find a room and you can start doing shows. Like wrestling, like, you guys have licenses and you have all this other shit you have to deal with, right?
Yeah, I was driving back. What happened is I was driving back from the Oregon coast, which is like an 8-hour drive, and I was just scrolling through Craigslist and I saw there was a wrestling ring for sale, and that's what made me just decide, like, I'm going to start a wrestling company. And then I called people I knew and asked if they wanted to put in money. And one of those original business partners isn't with the company anymore because he didn't want to hold his end, and we like forced him out of the company pretty much. He's not happy about it, but it's like, how much me and Anthony are in right now and how hard we've worked. The other guy didn't. So now we have 3 partners, and it's like, yeah, we got to get surety bonds and insurance and promoters licenses and all that. And it's a real headache. In the state of Washington, we're a wrestling school. In Oregon, we're an actual promoter, and it's like, it changes everywhere, man. In California, you and I were talking about doing shows. There's no commission there, so it's just like,
we can just roll up and do whatever we want. Like,
literally 3 states so close to each other. It all is different in every state,
which makes no sense to me. But I mean, it is what it is. Well, that's tight, man. I mean, like, so like, let's talk about like, how did you guys come up with that name, first of all?
I don't know. I mean, I knew people were going to make Step Brothers references when I came up with it, but like, if people are replying to your stuff, it's good. Like, it doesn't matter, There's
no such thing as bad press, just straight up.
Yeah. So like, as soon as we put it up, everyone was like, Prestige Worldwide. I'm like, okay, I don't care. It just sounded good. I couldn't find anyone that had actually made any moves under that name. So I was like, yeah, that sounds good. We were originally called Prestige Championship Wrestling, but then we were sent a cease and desist from another company to change our name because they had the initials for PCW trademarked.
Okay.
So I mean, they were. pretty cool about it. I mean, they weren't like dicks or anything. I get why they would want to do it. So
Yeah.
we just were like, okay, give us like, a show or two so we can switch our branding and everything. And they said that's fine. So,
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, it could have definitely been worse about that. So,
dude, I was mostly bummed because fans chanting PCW was like such a good chant, like after a spot.
yeah,
And now people chant like, prestige, clap, clap, prestige, which is
yeah.
fine. But it's like it took a while for that to catch on, and I was like, okay, finally something caught
Just
on.
you should just change the initials to PWW. Just Prestige Worldwide, dude. Like, you know what I
Prestige
mean? Like,
Worldwide, just straight up go for it.
just
We've
I mean, Will Ferrell would probably commend you. You know what I mean?
we've wanted to do a Step Brothers rip, but I can never just figure out like how to do it, so
Fair,
we haven't done it
fair.
yet.
Yeah, you could do like a get your balls off my wrestling mat rip off. You know what I mean?
Get your balls off. I don't know if we want to put some balls on some shirts, but
I'm not saying you have to put balls on the shirts, Willie, but
we could.
mhm,
It might make him sell a
mhm.
little
Well,
faster.
so you're loving doing this. I'm assuming. Like, I know you guys been going for a while now, but like,
It's a love hate. Like, dude, I'm sure you thought about quitting booking a million times.
no, never.
You're but like, but like, but but as responsible like thought adults that think, like, anytime that we're like, okay, I can't just make a decision right now, I'm gonna quit,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're down and out, and then the next day everything's better and you're like, oh, okay, that
Mhm,
was just me being
mhm.
a little pussy in the moment. But
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I mean, it is what it is. Like, I don't know, man. I get it. Like, I've definitely had that thought train of like, why do I do this? The money I've lost over the years, the disrespect from bands, occasionally my own scene. The
right.
next promoter coming up that thinks he can do it better. Like, it's tough, dude. But and I still love what I do. And before all this fucking Corona nonsense happened, it was nice to be able to like. I was, it had taken me 14 years, but I was finally starting to like pay some of my bills from doing it. You know what I mean? Working
Isn't
for
it nice that you're at that point though, that you can like you know where you stand, if you get what I'm saying, like you
yeah,
can be a dick to someone when they're acting like idiots, and like you're good at what you do. Like
yeah,
I was finally getting in that swing of thing with Prestige, so that's another bummer that it's like,
yeah,
we got to take a year off. Is like I was finally like, dude, I don't care how new I am to this, like we're
yeah.
drawing way more than everybody else.
Exactly. Like, you have a formula that works, and like, the people there's especially in the music industry, but I'm obviously in wrestling, just from what I know from talking to you, and like the handful of other people I know involved. Like, everyone's stuck to the old ways, right? Like, there's no, like,
Dude,
when I see a new promoter that comes up, for example, and I'm like, man, his shows are packed. Like, what is he doing different than what I'm doing? I try to go find out. I try to have a conversation with the person, or like, I'll send somebody that works for me to go to his shows, or like, I'll ask some of the bands that play for him, like, hey, what do you like about playing for so and so over playing for pinup? Because like, that's the only reason I've been able to survive. Like, I don't have enough. I'm not loaded. I don't have enough money to open my own venue. So
yeah.
everything I'm doing is I have to rent out a space and use that space. I have to use a pre-existing venue's room. So like, it's not like I just have a brand or a building I can fall back on and just, kind of like, hey, it's all right. I'm fine. I control the calendar, this, that, or the other thing. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm still always having to learn to play well with other people. And
Hmm.
so it's like, I'm trying to adapt, and I try to stay doing that. You know what I mean? Because you got to, otherwise you fizzle out.
A lot of people stick to the old guard for some reason, even if it isn't proven to be necessarily like the only successful way to do things. And the,
Yeah.
the thing that summarized it the best for me was in Simon Grimm's seminar. And I don't wrestle, so I don't know like the intricacies of like how they do this move or anything. But Simon said, okay, so how do you throw an arm drag? And then everybody was like, you do it like this, you do it like this. And then Simon went, why? And then they said, well, that's how we were taught. And then he said, well, why though? Like, what is the reason you're doing your arm drag that way? It doesn't keep you any more safe. It doesn't hurt you more. And then so our champion's Tom Lawler. Simon said, Tom is a UFC fighter. You think if Tom ever in a real fight was gonna throw an arm drag, he would think about how to do the arm drag? You can do it however you do it. Like, just because it's been done this way the whole time, that's not the only way to do something. And that's something that wrestling is finally starting to adapt to, like, you know, the old you have to shake everyone's hand, and then like there's a worker's handshake and not a worker's handshake of like if you shake their hand too stiff or whatever. It's stupid. It is all
Yeah.
stupid, and
Well,
the
there's
generation is changing.
well, and I think it's funny because I think that like the wrestling business and the metal or the music business, like I feel like there's gatekeepers in both industries, and that's like a lot of that shit seems to be changing in both of them. Thank God. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like I've been around long enough. Like I know a lot of the gatekeepers in the music business, and I know a lot of these young kids that are doing well and coming up and doing things different and blowing the roof off place, like Jake Brown, the guy that runs Pure Noise Records. Like, look at him. He's just some fucking dude from the Bay Area. Well, now he lives in LA, but like he took all the money he had saved up in his young life and put out a Story So Far record, and like now it's taken him to the moon. You know what I
I
mean?
think I think Jake was one of the people that gave me one of my first contact sheets when I was a booking agent. I can't
Probably,
remember.
probably. He's always been a great dude. He's never like, I don't talk to him often. But when I do, he's receptive. He answers whatever, if I'm hitting him up for like a question or like a favor, or like, hey, do you know somebody here or whatever? Like he's never like above responding to somebody,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's how it should be. And now look at him, he's working with like all the top bands in our genre. When 10 years ago, most of those people probably would have just laughed or been like,
yeah.
who are you? Like,
Yeah, he's probably doing really well. I mean, yeah, I remember like there was a time Pure Noise was like when they were just starting, it seemed like an attainable, easy, not easy to get on label, but like, you know, Ashylus was like, oh, we should try for Pure Noise because they had no
yeah.
bragging rights and they had all these bands. But now it's like Pure Noise is like killing it. It's one of the ones where it's like people dream to get on Pure
Yeah,
Noise now.
exactly, exactly. Which is like so crazy. So like with prestige, like what's your dream, Willie? Like what do you like? I know you already let the chicken out of the coop, so to speak, in the fact that we were talking about possibly doing some stuff in California,
Hmm.
like and you had WrestleMania events in Florida, so like are you trying to do more interstate like or multi-state stuff or
Yeah, I want to run everywhere. Anthony has looked at venues in Jersey and Philly. Like I would love to run in the Midwest where there's not like many good wrestling companies. I don't know. The
yeah,
Midwest has a lot, but there's certain areas that don't. Like Chicago and stuff has a ton of good wrestling. But I'm
yeah.
talking about like the dirty, like just middle of nowhere Midwest type areas. I want to try
Like
and go
St.
out there.
Louis?
St. Louis has some decent wrestling. I mean, St. Louis we would get robbed,
I
but
just had to take yeah, I had to take the stab at calling real quick, you know what I mean?
yeah.
But yeah, like that's cool. That's dude, I dig that. I think it's plausible. You guys have a great business model. I think it's good. I think it's rad. What's like so like let's say someone watches this and they want to like get in the wrestling business. Like what are the two like top tips you would give to someone that
So
wants and don't say
I'm
don't doesn't count.
no, I'm not going to say that, but I actually just said this the other day, and this is kind of cynical, but it's true. If you don't know how to get in the wrestling business, you don't need to be a wrestler. I mean, it just means you don't have any thinking skills to
Okay.
Google wrestling schools in the state of Oregon or to read a book. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying? It's like when people are like, "Well, how do I start a band?" You just do it, man. Like, you know, there's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's no path. It's
Yeah.
just you become a wrestler or you become a promoter. That's what I did. I literally started telling people I was a promoter, and then I started booking shows. And then I started telling people I'm a booking agent. I started messaging bands on MySpace and saying I'm a booking agent. And then, you know,
I
that's
remember
when
that.
you're like a joke and people are like blah blah blah, but the people that are good at it figure it out. And it's like I figured it out,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, like I mean, it's like funny because I know we've talked like in the group chats and one on one, and
Hmm.
you've even said things or like you've commented when I've been doing some like Flashback Friday like real old like show flyers lately, and you've even been saying like, oh man, I remember like when I first started, I would see all your old like Arsenic and pinup flyers and be like, oh, I hope
Hmm.
I can do shit like this one day. But you know what? It's like you did a good job because I always saw what you were working on up there, like still to this day when people are like who should I hit up to like book my shows up there, it's like hard for me to not say your name because like you
Yeah.
did it for so long and you were good at it, you know what I mean? Um so and what's the second bit of advice you would give?
So here's more cynical than on the same note, but I'm stealing this from Simon Graham as well, and that's don't take advice. Whenever
Hmm.
anybody asks him what his best advice is, it's don't take advice, and it's because everybody's going to give you their thoughts. You can take educated words of encouragement and ideas and tweak it in your own way,
Yeah.
but nobody's going to be able to get you there but yourself. You know, like that. Everybody's going to think their way is right, but they're wrong. Like if
Yeah.
you're there, that's all that matters. If you are at the show and doing it and you are in that match, that's all that counts.
Yeah. So what you're saying is put in the work. It's just like being in a band. Put in the
Yeah, just
work,
work.
build your brand, like execute well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like,
be intelligent. Like
whoa,
it
whoa,
if
whoa,
it,
whoa,
well,
whoa.
well I'm just,
I'm not intelligent. I'm doing this with you.
but I'm saying that there's probably been people that say you're doing this wrong, or like you send a deal and the agent goes, "Man, that deal's way too little," and you're intelligent enough to go, "Well, you're psycho. I'm not taking the show," and then they come back and go, "All right, we'll take it." So then
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Okay. Fair. Fair. No, you're not wrong. That's a great point.
Yeah, like just know what you're doing, man. Like I've had people legit be like, "Oh, your VIP packages are $100." Like they get mad about that, and I'm like, dude, like you get to meet 20 wrestlers for that price. Like what do you know? Like I don't know. Just don't be concerned with the thoughts of people that don't necessarily matter and don't hold any bearing
Yeah.
over what you do. You know,
Yeah.
like. And I'm like point blank, the only and I every wrestler that gets it understands that like the only people that they need to care to impress at my shows is me. Like if I am happy with it, that's all that matters because they're gonna keep getting paid by me and they're gonna keep getting booked. Like of course, if you're out there working a legend, you want that legend to be like, okay, like you were good. But
Yeah.
like if that legend wants to say he's bad, but the dude did exactly what I said and did everything, that's all that matters. And that's
Yeah.
the same way with anything. Just only listen and take advice, take words from the people that matter. Like just
Yeah. Well, and especially in wrestling, I feel like wrestling and music right now, both like there's new people proving that things can be done new ways all the time. Everybody on paper was like, they'll never pull off AEW. It'll never happen. You know what I mean? And now look at it. It's like, you
yeah,
know, granted, like I don't know how the ratings compare up to like Raw and SmackDown, but I know like they're beating NXT in the ratings, and that's their direct competition. As far as like
yeah.
talent level and room size and shit like that.
That's good. I think it's gonna be a long time before AEW can legitimately compete with WWE, just
Yeah.
because it's like, and I'm not using this negatively. It's just the only thing I can think of. It's like it's the sheep mindset of like you've watched WWE for so long, like WWE is gonna stay on top for a long time until like
Yeah.
it's just groundbreaking moment after groundbreaking moment with AEW. It's gonna take a long time, you
Well,
know.
they need to connect with the casual wrestling fan more because they right now they have the hardcore audience. They have the people that have gotten bored of
Mhm.
WWE, but like the people that like the cheese. Like, see, my problem is I love the cheese ball stuff. So
Mhm.
like that boneyard match that they did
I
at
loved it.
WrestleMania, dude, I loved it. I was like fucking edge of my seat. This is so fucking sick. And I go on the internet and everyone's just ripping it apart. And I was like, I
I
don't
loved
care.
it.
I thought
Did
that
you
was
watch
sick.
Money in the Bank?
Literally just finished watching it this morning before I got on the call with you, dude.
The ladder matches were great.
Dude,
The,
great. Like I wish there was a little bit more ladder. Okay, I will say
yeah,
that there wasn't any good ladder spots, but like even like WrestleMania, like the Edge and Randy Orton, like was that a no holds barred?
Last Man Standing.
Last man standing. Sorry, yeah, like that. They're in the fucking the workout center. They're in like I'm loving that whole like using the
That
building because I used
that's
to
what
love
they
the
need to do. I
well, like
wouldn't, dude.
back in the day,
Hardcore.
like the hardcore, yeah, like the hardcore matches were like, dude, they're like, oh, here's when what's his got fucking pinned underneath the fucking forklift when fucking Stone Cold and Mankind would go fight in the boiler room. Like,
Yeah,
where are those segments now? You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like and so it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you're in an office building, but like it was still badass. And like that segment with Debray and AJ where they like bust into Vince's office and then
Uh huh.
get scared. I thought that was fucking hilarious.
I I
You know?
when they announced how they were gonna do it, I like told my girlfriend how excited I am. Like I would not have watched Money in the Bank had they not
Oh,
done it
oh,
this way.
that's the one pay per view a year. I literally will watch Money in the Bank over Royal Rumble. It's the one pay per view every year. I always watch. I don't know why.
I can't watch it without the crowd. I didn't even watch WrestleMania. I watched the Boneyard match and I watched the John Cena Bray Wyatt match.
Which was incredible also.
Which they were both were great. I can't get into it, man, because from my side of like knowing somewhat how matches are put together and all that, without the crowd, the pacing is so weird and so different than the crowd.
Yeah.
They're wrestling totally different matches,
Yeah.
so like I'm watching it different, and it's like because when you're when a wrestler's wrestling, they are planning for the spots of when the crowd's going to react. Like that's how they pace their match. And one of the funniest stories I've ever been told that I didn't know he did this. The Rock, when he calls a match backstage, he'll be like, "All right, so I give you, I give you punch, you go down. I give you DDT. The crowd, rock." Like he will like plan where the chants are gonna be. And then the thing that I thought was even funnier, because they're big stars, but they're not The Rock. The Young Bucks plan their matches that way too. The Young Bucks will, when they're planning their match, will be like, "Yeah, the crowd's chanting Young Bucks right here." And
oh, that's
it's just,
I never would have thought of that. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. So that, for me, it changes the pacing of the match.
Wait, the matches are planned?
No. yeah, they're planned. Come on. Don't tell anybody, dude. Kayfabe it.
I know. Sorry. Well, you are the Grinch of wrestling. You're just trying to spoil it for all of us, ruin it for all of us real fans, Willie.
Dude, when I was like first like running wrestling shows, like the first 2 or 3 shows, I was so worried about like being that guy of like, do I speak on this? Like when I would do podcasts, do I mention this?
Yeah.
Do I do that? Now I'm just like, dude, I own the company. Like I will talk about what I want to talk about, and we all know it's fake.
Well, it's even like something just popped up like earlier this week where like somebody called some person on some other podcast or one of those like.
I was mad for the same reason you are mad about things, though.
Well,
it was when he called it fake.
Right? Well, yeah, no, but he said, no, I got something popped up on my Twitter feed. Like they used, I don't like using the word retard in a derogatory way.
He said retard. That's why I was mad.
Yeah, he was like, if you're still supporting fake wrestling in 2020, like you're a retard or like something like that. And it's like, dude. And like all the Twitter, I found the Twitter thread of people directly responding to the dude, and they're like, "Dude, if you don't think that people in 2020 realize that this is fake, like you're stupid." Because we all know, but we still all love it. Who cares?
I was the one that but the thing that I brought up is like, I'm not mad, and nobody should be mad that he's calling wrestling fake. People should be mad that he's trying to belittle mentally handicapped people and trying to say that the Special Olympics are less than, because he said wrestling is like all that. Yeah, wrestling is like going to watch the Special Olympics is what he said. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know much about it, but I've seen like some training videos, and I think they're like all pretty good athletes in the Special Olympics. Definitely better athletes than we are. And then like, so. Yeah. I think people's battles with that guy were all wrong. Like, it's not I don't care they called it fake. It's that he's an idiot and is trying to belittle people. But
he's belittling multiple groups of people using a word that's archaic and old fashioned and should not be used anymore. And on top of that, it's like I said in my earlier point, like, dude, like let people do what they want. Like I know. Like, I mean, I'm turning 34 at the end of the month, and I still get people that are like, "Oh, you still watch wrestling?" They like judge me, or they're like, they're like, "Is it really fake?" And I'm like, "You're an adult, and you still haven't figured." Like, I understand if you don't watch it at all, but it's like you have to ask me if it's actually fake.
Dude, the thing that people are more like the thing that's more idiotic is that there's legitimately people out there that will be like, "Oh, but they know how to fall." What do you mean they know how to fall? What does that mean? Somebody knows how to fall. Falling hurts. Like, my wrestling ring hurts. I took one bump one time. I just fell flat on my back, and I was like, "Nope, never again." Like, it's not easy. Like, I don't know, man. I saw a tweet too that was funny about the dude, the comedian, calling wrestling fake. They pointed out like, "Hey, you guys know stand-up comedy is fake, right? Like, those scenarios probably didn't happen to that guy. Like, he's just telling stories that he's made up, acting like it happened to him. Like, it's the same thing. Movies are fake. Like,
no, exactly. Like, I think that dude's an idiot. I hope he has some bad karma coming his way. That's all I have to say about that.
Right. But, what do you mean deathcore bands don't really kill women?
Yeah, exactly. Like, Wait, you mean the skinny little singer from Alicia didn't really dig a ditch and bury that girl? Like,
That's what,
wait, he didn't put his thumbs in someone's eyes and not stop pushing? Like,
yeah. How is he not in prison?
dude, right?
Real
Good
quick,
lord.
when I toured through there with Moreau and Leaders, were you there? You were the promoter, right?
Yes. You played the church, the refuge.
Yeah. Were you at the show or no?
Yeah, I was there.
So we did meet.
Yes.
Do you remember meeting me?
No.
I think I remember meeting you because I knew what you looked like before, like I went to your Facebook page. Or
Yeah.
maybe I just had assumptions on what all concert promoters look
Well, I
like.
knew the
Just
Moreau
fat
guy.
dudes with beards.
Yeah, I knew the Moreau guys like a little bit, but leaders were like, some of the best dudes around.
Yeah.
So
Good band.
great band, great dudes. But yeah, but well, anyways, all right, Willie, we got a few things, and then we're gonna wrap this up. All right,
Okay.
are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes, hit me with it.
What's your favorite color?
I don't have favorite colors. I think it's a weird thing to have a favorite color. I mean, I like wearing black because black is slimming, but like
Okay,
I don't know. It's just like there's too many good things. Like I don't have a favorite food. I don't have a favorite movie. I don't have a favorite band. Like Kiss is my favorite band of all time, but it's like I don't listen to Kiss every single day. Um, but yeah, I don't. I think choosing favorites is odd
interesting,
because there's so much
interesting.
good stuff in the world.
My next thing I was gonna ask you was food, so you really shot the way I end this show in the foot.
I really like
What are
stereotypical.
your top three things to eat?
I really like stereotypical like big boy foods. Like at any time it could go between like burritos, pizza, cheeseburgers, like stuff like that. But I also really like Mongolian food is great.
There you go.
Chicken overall is great. There's a child busting in my room.
It's all right.
But yeah, food in general is good. I don't drink energy drinks
Okay.
anymore. I used to love energy drinks. I would have put that on there.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very minor on those these days because those big boys, our heart can't take it.
I haven't had any in 2 months, but I used to have like two a day, like two 20-ounce Red Bulls a day for like 3 months.
I had a heart attack just thinking about that, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a heart attack right now thinking about it.
All right. Okay. Usually, I ask a question about like up and coming music or bands or like have you heard any new music that just like knocked your socks off lately?
I heard Poppy for the first time, and I really like Poppy. Do you know who Poppy is?
Yes.
So I like Poppy. I listened to the song "No Vaseline" by Ice Cube for the first time. That's a good song. It's the diss track on NWA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I said that I think the hardest hip hop song of all time is "Natural Born Killers" by Dr. Dre and Ice Cube, but a lot of people think No Vaseline is. No Vaseline is not. It doesn't even touch Natural Born Killers. Natural Born Killers is what New Jack came out to in ECW.
Yeah. I remember.
And yeah, and like that image of that with that song is just like, oh, New Jack is just fucking dudes up to
Yeah.
a Ice Cube song. Like, but new bands, yeah, Poppy's not really new. I mean, she's obviously very big.
Yeah, but it's
Too,
just
so
new to you. It's new to you. We're talking about you, brother.
yeah, I'm trying. Dude, I'm cynical, man. It's hard to get into stuff just because I've seen and heard so much. Like
Oh, I
I've
know.
been listening to all of this forever. Like
Mhm.
I was listening to all these deathcore bands and stuff when they were coming out. Like you were, like I was listening to Oceano when they were coming out. Like,
Yeah. Well, I
um,
remember when it wasn't even called deathcore. It was just like it was just metalcore bands, and they just happened to sometimes tour with death metal bands.
yeah, yeah,
Like
and it
when,
was
Animosity, Invocation of, was it Neok or Nehemiah or whatever the hell the band was, like, The Final Burden, like, Glass Casket. We had all these bands that they were like, are they tech metal? Are they death metal? Are they metalcore band? Like,
Animosity
it,
was a band that was slightly before my time to like,
yeah,
and it's because they were too techie and deathy for me. I feel like too,
mhm.
because I was really young, so I was really into like Carnifex and like more of the slammier breakdown type bands. But as I've gotten older, Animosity is sick.
Yeah, that's a band that needs to come back.
Yes, you should do it.
Let's not talk about that. It's a sensitive subject.
That's a
Um,
sensitive subject.
all right. So I got two questions for you, and then we'll get the fuck out of here.
Okay.
Uh, who is, in your opinion, is the best up and coming non AEW or WWE wrestler right now? Doesn't have to necessarily be up and coming, but like who's like the most underappreciated because they're not in one of those companies, you know?
There's a lot of guys. It's the same way that you would have a lot of bands you'd probably want to list. I
But
do
who's like
think
the first one off the top of your head, though? You know what I mean?
I'm a really big fan of this guy, Tony Deppen. He just popped into my head. He's from the East Coast, and he was on one of my shows. He's incredible. Yeah, let's go with Tony Deppen for now because I was watching his matches last night, and they're really good. But like, I mean, that goes 20. There's 20 or 30 wrestlers I could put in that spot
Well,
in any given
fair,
moment.
fair.
So, I think my favorite wrestler of all time, CM Punk, and that's just because like most people our age and from our scene, the thing that got me back into wrestling was that pipe bomb promo that he did.
Yeah.
And it's not like I fell out of wrestling. I just stopped watching current wrestling.
Yeah.
And then he did that promo, and I was like, I'll start watching current wrestling again. It's been nonstop since then.
He did give us a nice rebirth. He did give it that, I will say.
Yeah, because it's like a straight edge dude that like wears H2O hoodies and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
I have to ask. This is just a personal between you and me question out of curiosity. Who is the best tag team on the face of the planet in your opinion right now?
God, I always go to the Young Bucks, but that's so cliche. I think the Young Bucks are so underappreciated in the sense that like they're overappreciated by a lot of people, but I think a lot of traditionalists don't think they're as good as they actually are. A lot of people are like, oh, they can't sell, they can't do this. They can do anything, man. They're
just a matter of what they want to do.
They're phenomenal. Yeah, they're so freaking good. So I'd probably go the Young Bucks or Let's just go Young Bucks.
Okay.
I think Kenny Omega is one of the best wrestlers in the world right now too. I think one of the best of all time is Chris Jericho too.
Oh well, that's
like
the goat. That don't even count, dude. Like, if there was a Mount Rushmore of wrestling, it would be Chris Jericho, The Rock, Stone Cold, and Cesaro, bro. Like that's it, dude. Like
I gotta go Jericho, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, and probably The Rock. And it's not. I think The Rock is he's a pretty big second to Stone Cold, but that's only because Stone Cold made so much money and was so good. Yeah. But like I've said, The Rock wouldn't have existed without Stone Cold, and Stone Cold wouldn't have existed without The Rock.
Yeah. Well, I think Stone Cold was the better wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
No disrespect to Rocky being a third generation, but like Rock, no one will ever be as entertaining. Like when he hits his move,
he's the man.
The only thing that the Rock gets beat at is selling, and Chris Jericho will always be the best seller. Period, in my opinion.
Dolph Ziggler.
Okay, well, I mean,
dude looks like he got shot when he just like you could punch him and he looks like he's dead. Also, go back and watch Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker from Bad Blood '97 in the Hell in a Cell. That match is just nuts. The whole match is cat and mouse. It's just Shawn Michaels trying to figure out how to get away from the Undertaker, and Undertaker's just toying with him, and then Shawn Michaels wins because Kane shows up. Yeah. So
fair. All right, Word. Well, Willie, we are about out of time, so thank you for joining me. I appreciate you, my dude. Everybody, if you want to check out Willie's old bands, I'll have them included in the link of the video. Ashylus, metalcore, Zero, just like nasty, like heavy, almost beat down, but not quite deathcore, like a little bit of both. Real sick. A couple of the Extortionist dudes were also in that. Check that out. Willie, where can we find Prestige Wrestling? Where and how? Tell us right now.
PrestigeWrestling.net, and then Wrestle Prestige on everything else like Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Perfect.
So, and yeah, perfect timing because my phone's got like 4% battery life. So we got to wrap it up, Joel.
Well, perfect. Willie, thanks for being a guest. Everybody, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe, check it out, buy some Prestige Wrestling merch because they just lost their ability to do everything for the rest of the year, as you heard earlier. I am your host at Joel Cupcake. This has been my friend William Quintana, Unedited. Good night.